last name McClellan is Scottish. Now, Scottish are known for their storytellers, and I come from a long line of wonderful storytellers. And today I want to tell you two stories, in part how I came to be here today. This generally starts off a little bit with I'm going to tease for you the story, which is, it involves a grumpy man, a pretty girl in flip-flops, a hypochondriac, and how I was once paid to be serenaded by Elvis himself. Let's Tarantino that a little bit. Let's rewind it just a tad. Started off, I was a very inquisitive little kid. I was very curious, and I wanted to know how things worked. Always wanted to know the inner workings of things. I started around 6 or 7, and I started taking things apart, like the toaster. Thankfully, I was able to put everything back together enough so that when my mom got home, she didn't notice that I had taken it apart, and sometimes it had worked better than when I took it apart. I graduated to the Nintendo. I took that apart one day, and my mom is in the audience. I'm sorry, I did take apart the TV. It still worked. You were none the wiser. Fast forward a couple years, I'm 14, 15 years old, and I'm still very curious, and I thought to myself, well, if I have a cool car, that'll make me cool, right? And I thought maybe it'd help me get a girlfriend. Hint, it didn't. So, embark on the next journey of what makes a car work, what makes it tick, what makes it go, what makes it turn left and right and stop, and all sorts of things. And that opened up my first passion, which is automotive. Fast forward a couple of years, I had figured out how cars work, and I got a pretty good grasp of how they ticked. And I thought, well, what's the next big thing on the horizon? And I thought, what's the biggest thing we don't know right now? The brain. I was curious, how does the brain work? How do we make our decisions? When I see the color blue, do you see the color blue? And what does it look like to you? So I decided I would go into an undergraduate program and went on to get my master's. And at the very end, I realized that the enormity of the problem. It was absolutely mind-boggling big. And at that point, I realized I should probably take a break, and I took a job as a manager in training at a local repair shop to get my mind off things. Now, this repair shop had a very lucrative contract with a rental car agency. The rental car agency system would work where they would drop off a car, they would pick up the keys, and they would take the car that we just fixed and go along their merry way. It was a very good contract for us. Most of the drivers, there were about 8 or 10 of them, were fairly pleasant. They knew the routine. They would come in, they would pick up the keys, they would take the finished car, and they would leave us a car to be serviced. One particular day, I'm with Jason, my technician. He will become crucial in a second. I'm about to close. I'm sitting in the front shop in the customer area, and the front door burst open. Okay, first issue. In walks Grumpy Man. Now, this man I have known for about 6 months, and I've seen him once a day for 6 months, yet has never uttered a single word to me. I have tried to be polite, I've tried to say hello, I have tried to make small conversation, none of it. He's not interested. This particular day, he throws open the door, and in a very short, staccato walk, such as this, he makes a beeline for the bathroom. Okay. What am I to do? Didn't think much of it. A minute or so passes. Something's not right, and I detect an odor from the other side of the counter. And I go to investigate, and lo and behold, there is a trail of business to the bathroom, from the front door to the bathroom. There it is. These are things they don't teach you in manager training school of how to handle. And these are things they certainly don't teach you in psychology school, I'll tell you that. So I'm dumbfounded. I just, like, what do you do? And I'm thinking, I need a witness because nobody's going to believe me that this actually just happened. So I go and get Jason. Jason is the hypochondriac. Jason is such a hypochondriac, in fact, that he, if you go to Subway and get 2 sandwiches and bring them out and then you lift the flap ever so gently to see whose sandwich is whose, he will instantly reject it because now that sandwich is tainted. I go and get Jason and I said, Jason, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I'm not crazy, right? This is happening from the front door to the bathroom. Now, if you've ever seen the look of horror in a man's face, I saw it that day. It was an instant, and he took off, never to be seen again. Now I'm standing here, still, what do I do? Enter pretty girl. Walk, early 20s, relatively attractive, female, flip-flops, walks in. If you can imagine what happened, you are absolutely 100% correct. She steps in one of the larger pieces, to which I instantly open the door and apologize profusely. This is not how we do business here. I give her a paper towel and she thankfully was very cool with me and says, oh, don't worry, I'm a nurse, I see this all the time. She takes her car, thankfully, and drives off. At this moment, I'm realizing that the gentleman is still in the bathroom. It's been about 15 minutes. Thinking to myself, well, somebody's going to have to do something about it. And I realize now there are better ways of handling, but at the time my brain was a little in shock, so you'll have to give me a little credit. And the only way I would think to clean it up, well, is the mechanic's favorite, brake clean. And I will tell you, from experience, brake clean does not have the intended effect that you think it would. It more or less just kind of makes a smeary mess. So here I am, on my hands and knees, cleaning up the business. Out walks Grumpy Man. He's standing over me, and looming at this point. Here I am. Utters the only word he has ever uttered to me. Ever. Huh. And he walks off. That was not the straw that broke the camel's back, though. Once I had sort of gotten the customer waiting area to a reasonable kind of expectation that you would have of a customer area, I realized the car was still outside that he had brought. And I went outside to find more business. And I realized that my mechanic, Jason, did not have enough car seats on the planet to cover up the situation so that he would get into it. So we left it, had them come pick it up later. And then, as I was about to close, my thought turned to the bathroom. It was a small one-stall bathroom, very tiny. Now, that door had not been opened in close to an hour, and the only way I can really describe it is if you've ever been hit in the face with a sack of oranges by, like, Mark McGuire in his prime. Fat, potent. I propped the door and realized that was the straw. I propped the door, left a little note for my boss. I said, "Dear boss, super sorry, I'll explain in the morning. I'm leaving." And then left a note. At that moment, I realized maybe the automotive world wasn't my calling after all. So I decided I'd get my first real psychology and therapy, and my very first day with my very first patient, I was doing assessments for accounting. In walks my very first patient. Let me set the stage. About 5'5", 5'6", skin-tight pleather pants, faux snakeskin red polyester shirt, buttoned to about here with a nice little tuft of hair sticking out. He has the most amazing 50s wave going on. It was impressive as he walked in. We sat down and we started talking, and eventually the conversation turned to, Eric, did you know I am the reincarnation of Elvis? I did not know that. Now, being the very curious person I am, I said, oh, well, tell me more about that. That sounds very interesting. I'm naive. I don't know what I'm doing. And he says, well, Eric, Elvis was born in 1979, or excuse me, died in 1979. I was born in 1979. Coincidence? Eric, I had memorized every single word of Elvis's by the age of 4. Coincidence? And that's the way he said it. Coincidence? He then, at this point, takes liberty to tell me that his profession is as a Elvis impersonator. Which is a pretty good job if you're the reincarnation of Elvis, right? Makes a lot of sense. Of course, being curious like I am, I bring it upon myself to say, well, that's an interesting job. What sort of things make a really good Elvis impersonator? And he says, well, you've got to have the clothes. Oh, of course, naturally. You got to have the lip curl. Of course. As I'm writing all this down, he says, but the most important thing is you must know how to sing. That is an excellent quality in an Elvis impersonator. As I'm writing this down, I hear, love me tender, love me sweet. And he proceeds, I'm not going to sing the rest of it for you, to sing Love Me Tender, a cappella, by himself, unasked, from front to end. Eye contact was never lost the entire song. The whole time. And I'm not sure which was more unnerving, was the eye contact, which was pretty unnerving, or the fact that he was actually really good. And I could see him being an amazing Elvis impersonator. I walked out of that room thinking, I wonder if the repair shop is hiring again. I tell you those two stories because I did not let those things get in the way of wanting to know how things work. And I want to say this, even if you have a crappy day,